The night my parents told everyone I was the problem. There were 27 people sitting in that room, family, friends, neighbors, who had known me since I was a child. And my father stood up, raised his glass, and said, "We've done everything we could for our daughter, but some people just don't want to be helped." Everyone went quiet. Then my mother added, "She's always been difficult." I sat there frozen because I knew exactly what they were doing. They weren't just talking. They were building a story about me, a story where I was the ungrateful daughter, the failure, the disappointment, and the worst part, people were nodding, actually nodding, like it all made sense. Like I had always been the problem. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 29 years old. And until that night, I spent my entire life trying to prove my parents wrong, trying to be good enough, quiet enough, successful enough. But nothing I ever did changed the way they saw me, or the way they made others see me. The dinner was supposed to be a celebration. My parents' 35th wedding anniversary. A big event, of course, because appearances mattered more than anything in our family. The house was perfect. The table was perfect. Even the guest list was strategic. People who respected my parents, people who would believe them, people who didn't know the truth. I almost didn't go. Something in my gut told me not to. But my mother had called me that morning. "Don't embarrass us," she said. "It's an important night," so I showed up, like I always did. When I arrived, everything felt normal, too normal. My mother hugged guests. My father laughed loudly. My younger brother Ryan walked around like he owned the place. Golden child, perfect son, never wrong, never questioned. And me, I was introduced like this. This is Emily. She's still figuring things out. Still, at 29, after working 2 jobs, after paying off my own student loans, after building a life without their help, still figuring things out. I should have known then, but I didn't, because part of me still hoped maybe tonight would be different. Dinner started, conversation flowed, wine glasses clinked. Everything looked perfect from the outside, until my father stood up. "That's when everything changed. We're proud of our family," he said. "Ryan has made us incredibly happy. Applause, of course." Then his tone shifted. "But not everything in life turns out the way you expect." My stomach dropped. I knew. I just knew. "Emily," he said, looking straight at me, "we've tried to support you for years." The room went silent. "I'm not sure what went wrong," my mother added softly, "but sometimes you have to accept that someone doesn't want to change." I felt every eye in the room turn toward me, judging, analyzing, deciding. "She refuses to listen," my father continued. "She makes bad decisions." My mother shook her head. "We've sacrificed so much for her, and she just throws it away." It wasn't just criticism, it was a performance, a carefully crafted narrative, and I was the villain. Someone across the table whispered, "That's so sad." Another person said, "They must be exhausted." Exhausted from me. I sat there completely still, because reacting would only prove their point. Anger would make me look unstable. Defending myself would make me look guilty. And they knew that. They had done this before. Just never like this. Never this publicly. Then Ryan spoke. And that was the moment everything inside me shifted. "I've tried to help her too," he said, "but she just pushes everyone away." Of course he had. The perfect son. Backing up the story, making it real, making it believable. That's when I realized something. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't emotional. This was planned. Every word, every pause, every reaction. They had invited 27 people just to confirm one thing, that I was the problem. And for a moment, I almost let them win. I almost stood up, apologized, and walked out quietly, like I always had, like they expected me to. But then I remembered something. Something I had been holding on to for months. Something they didn't know I had. Something that could destroy their entire story in seconds. So instead of leaving, I smiled and said the one thing they weren't expecting. "You're right," I said calmly. The room went completely still. My father blinked. My mother frowned. Ryan looked confused. "You're right," I repeated. "I should tell everyone the truth." And that's the moment everything changed. Because what my parents didn't know was that I had proof. Proof that the story they were telling everyone was a lie. And in the next 5 minutes, every single person in that room was going to see it. The moment my father said those words, something inside me went quiet. Not angry, not shocked, just quiet. Like my brain had finally stopped trying to make sense of something that never made sense to begin with. "I'm the problem?" I repeated, my voice calm. Too calm. My mother sighed dramatically, shaking her head like she was the one exhausted. "Emma, please don't do this here," she said. "Not in front of everyone." Not in front of everyone. That was funny. because they were the ones who started it. They were the ones who stood in front of a room full of people and turned me into a warning story. I looked around, 30 people, neighbors, family friends, my cousin Lily, who wouldn't even look me in the eye. Even my aunt, my mom's sister, was pretending to sip her drink like she hadn't just heard everything. Nobody said anything. Nobody defended me. Because when a narrative is repeated long enough, people stop questioning it. They just accept it. And my parents had been telling this story about me for years. Emma is difficult. Emma is emotional. Emma ruins everything. So tonight, they were just confirming what everyone already believed, or thought they believed. Maybe you're right, I said quietly. My father blinked, clearly not expecting that. What? Maybe I am the problem, I continued. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. My mother softened instantly, thinking she'd won. That's all we're saying, she said gently. You just need to take responsibility. But if I'm the problem, I cut in, my voice steady, then why do I have proof that I'm not? Silence. Real silence this time. The kind that makes people stop breathing. My father frowned. What are you talking about? I reached into my bag, slowly, deliberately, and pulled out my phone. 3 years. That's how long I'd been collecting it. Not out of revenge, not at first. At first it was just confusion, because I kept hearing things about myself that didn't match reality. So I started saving things. Messages, emails, voicemails. At first it was just to reassure myself that I wasn't crazy, but over time it became something else. Evidence. I didn't come here to argue, I said. I came here because I knew you'd do this. My mother's smile started to fade. Emma, she warned, but I didn't stop, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of her reaction. I knew you'd tell everyone I was the problem, I continued. I just didn't think you'd make it this easy. I turned my phone around and hit play. My mother's voice filled the room, clear, sharp, unfiltered. Just tell them Emma started it. She always does. People believe it anyway. The audio cut off. You could hear a glass clink somewhere across the room. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." My mother went completely still. That's taken out of context, she stammered. But I was already scrolling, already pulling up the next one. Another recording, this time, my father. She's always been like this, difficult. If something goes wrong, it's probably her. Play, stop, silence, heavy, unavoidable silence. I looked at them, really looked at them, for the first time, not as my parents, but as two people who had built an entire story about me and expected me to live inside it forever. You told everyone I was the problem, I said quietly. But you never expected me to prove you wrong. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because the truth had finally entered the room, and unlike their version of the story, this one couldn't be controlled. You could feel it, the shift. The moment when a room full of people realizes they've been believing the wrong story for years. No one was looking at me anymore. They were looking at them, my parents. The same people who had just minutes ago stood tall, confident, respected, in control. Now, my mother's hands were trembling. My father's jaw was tight, but I could see it, that crack in his expression. The one that said this wasn't going the way he planned. Emma, my mother said, forcing a laugh that didn't land. This is ridiculous. You're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing myself. That used to work on me, that word. It used to shut me down instantly, make me apologize, make me shrink. But not anymore. No, I said calmly. I've been embarrassing myself for years by staying quiet. A few people shifted. One of the neighbors, Mr. Collins, actually stepped a little closer, like he didn't want to miss what was coming next. That's when my father tried to take control again. He straightened his posture, voice firm. That recording doesn't prove anything, he said. It's one sentence, out of context. Okay, I nodded. Then let's add some context. I tapped my phone again. Another clip. This one older, my mother's voice again, sharper this time. If anything goes wrong, just blame Emma. It's easier. She won't fight back. Play. Stop. A quiet gasp spread through the room. Someone actually whispered, "That's messed up." My mother's face flushed instantly. "That is not what I meant." "You meant exactly what you said," I replied. Still calm, still controlled, and that scared her more than anything, because I wasn't reacting anymore. I was presenting, like facts, like evidence, like someone who had already processed the pain and was now just telling the truth. My father stepped forward, lowering his voice. "This isn't the time or place for this." I met his eyes. You made it the time and place. That hit. Hard. Because he didn't have a response, he couldn't say anything without making it worse. And for the first time in my life, he didn't have control of the room. I looked around again. This time people weren't avoiding my eyes. They were watching me, listening, actually listening. And I realized something in that moment. I wasn't invisible anymore. I spent years thinking something was wrong with me, I said. My voice softened, but didn't break. Every time something went wrong, it was my fault. Every argument, every tension, every awkward moment, I swallowed. Not because I was weak, but because I was finally saying it out loud. I believed you. I looked at my mother. You made me believe I was the problem. Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. Guilt. Real guilt. But it disappeared almost instantly. Replaced by something else. Defensiveness. Anger. You were difficult, Emma, she snapped. You are difficult. Look at what you're doing right now. There it was. The script. The same one. Always. No matter what happened, it always circled back to me. But this time, it didn't land. Because now everyone else could see it too, and I could tell by the way people were reacting. They did see it. That's the problem, I said quietly. You don't even hear yourself. Silence again, but different this time. Heavier. Because now it wasn't just about the recordings. It was about patterns, about behavior, about truth that had been hiding in plain sight. My cousin Lily finally spoke, softly. Emma, is this real? I turned to her, and for a moment, I felt that old instinct to downplay it, to protect them, to say it's not that bad, but I didn't. Yes, I said. Simple, honest, and that one word did more damage than anything else, because it confirmed everything. My father exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. This has gone too far, he muttered. No, I replied. It hasn't gone far enough. I stepped forward slightly, not aggressive, just certain. For years, you've told everyone I was the problem. I looked around the room at every single person who had heard that story before, but none of you ever asked for proof. No one moved because they knew it was true. It was easier to believe them, I continued, easier than questioning it. My voice didn't shake, didn't crack, because this wasn't anger anymore, this was clarity, and that's exactly why they kept doing it. My mother shook her head rapidly. This is unbelievable. You're twisting everything. Am I? I asked softly. And then I pulled up one last thing. Not a recording, not a message, something bigger, something I had been holding on to for the right moment, and I knew. This was it, the moment everything would break. I wasn't going to show this, I said, but since we're all being honest tonight, I looked directly at my parents. This is the part you didn't think anyone would ever see. And as I lifted my phone, I saw it, for the first time. Real fear on both of their faces. For a second, I almost didn't do it. Not because I was scared of them, but because I knew. Once this came out, there was no going back. No fixing things. No pretending. No family dinners where everyone smiled like nothing happened. This would end it. Completely. But then I remembered something. Every time I stayed quiet, it didn't fix anything. It just gave them permission to do it again. So this time, I didn't hesitate. I turned my phone toward the room. This, I said, is from 2 years ago. My mother's face went pale instantly. Emma, don't. Too late. I hit play. A video, not just audio. A video. The angle was slightly tilted like it had been recorded secretly. Because it had. It was from the dining room. Same house. Same table. Different night. My mother's voice came first. Sharp. Controlled. She's the easiest one to blame. Megan would never forgive us if we turned this on her. A pause. Then my father. Lower. Calculated. Emma won't fight it. She never does. The video continued. And then, the part that changed everything. We just need to make sure everyone thinks it was her fault. Silence. Real silence. Not uncomfortable, not awkward, devastating. Because now, it wasn't opinion. It wasn't interpretation. It wasn't out of context. It was strategy. Deliberate. Cold. Planned. Someone in the room actually said, "What the hell?" My mother grabbed my arm suddenly, hard. "Turn that off," she hissed. I pulled my arm back instantly. "Don't touch me." Her hand dropped like she'd been burned, and for the first time, she looked small, not powerful, not intimidating, just exposed. My father stepped forward quickly. "That video doesn't show the full situation," he said, voice tight. "You don't understand what was going on." "I understand perfectly," I cut in. "You needed someone to take the fall." I looked straight at him. "And you chose me." He opened his mouth, closed it, because there was nothing left to say. The truth had already said everything. I turned back to the room, to the people who had heard this version of me for years. "This is what happens," I said quietly, "when someone becomes the easy one in a family. My voice softened slightly, not weak, just real. They don't fight back. They don't argue. They don't defend themselves. I swallowed. They just take it. A woman near the back shook her head slowly. I had no idea, she whispered. Of course she didn't. Because I never told anyone. I carried it, alone. For years I thought maybe I deserved it, I admitted. That landed, harder than anything else. Because it wasn't anger. It was truth. And truth makes people uncomfortable. I thought maybe I really was the problem, I continued. But I wasn't. I lifted my chin slightly. They just needed me to be. My mother let out a shaky breath. This is insane, she muttered. But nobody agreed with her. Not a single person. Because now they could see it, clear as day. My father looked around the room, and I saw it, that moment when he realized he had lost control of the narrative, completely. This is a private family matter, he said sharply. It shouldn't be discussed like this. I almost laughed. Private? I repeated. You made it public. I gestured around the room. You told everyone I was the problem. My voice dropped slightly. So I showed everyone the truth. Silence, again, but this time it wasn't tense, it was final, because there was nothing left to defend, nothing left to hide. My cousin Lily stepped forward slowly, looking at my parents like she didn't recognize them. You? You blamed her on purpose? She asked. No answer. My father looked away. My mother said nothing, and that silence? That was the loudest answer of all. I took a deep breath, and for the first time in my life, I felt something I had never felt before in that house. Peace, not because it was over, but because I had finally said it, out loud, in front of everyone. I'm not the problem, I said. Simple, clear, unshakable. And this time, no one disagreed. No one clapped. No one spoke. Because this wasn't a moment you celebrate. This was the moment everything breaks. You could feel it in the air, that heavy, uncomfortable realization spreading through the room. People weren't just shocked, they were rethinking everything. Every story they'd heard about me. Every time my parents had said Emma did it. Every moment they had nodded along without ever questioning it. And now, they were standing there, realizing they had believed a lie. My aunt was the first to move. She stepped forward slowly, looking at my mother like she didn't recognize her. Patricia, she said quietly, how long has this been going on? My mother's lips parted, but no words came out. Because what could she say? That it was true? That they'd been doing this for years? That it was easier to blame me than deal with reality? There's more to the story, my father finally said, his voice tight. But even he didn't sound convincing anymore. Not like before. Now he sounded like someone trying to hold on to control, when everyone could already see it slipping. Then tell it, my aunt replied, simple, direct. And for the first time they couldn't, because there was no version of the story left. That didn't make them look exactly like what they were. My cousin Lily shook her head slowly. I feel sick, she whispered. I actually believed you. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to them. And that hit harder than anything I could have said. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about trust. And they had destroyed it. I think we should go, someone near the door muttered. And just like that, the room started shifting. People stepping back, grabbing coats, avoiding eye contact, not with me, with them. The same people who used to admire my parents now didn't even want to stand near them. Reputation doesn't collapse slowly. It collapses all at once. And I was watching it happen in real time. Emma, stop this, my mother said suddenly, her voice cracking. This has gone too far. I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time, I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel angry. I just felt done. It didn't go far enough, I said quietly. Her eyes filled with something I had never seen before. Not anger, not control, fear. Because she finally understood. This wasn't something she could fix. Not with guilt, not with manipulation, not with the usual lines. Emma, we're your parents, my father said, softer now, almost desperate. You don't turn against your family like this, I held his gaze. You turned on me first. That landed, hard, and he knew it because he didn't argue, didn't interrupt, didn't raise his voice. For the first time in my life, he had nothing. The room was almost empty now, just a few people lingering, not out of curiosity anymore, out of discomfort, because they were witnessing something real, something raw, something irreversible. My mother took a step toward me. After everything we've done for you, she whispered. There it was, the final card, the one they always used. But this time, it didn't work. Everything you've done for me? I repeated softly. You mean everything I did for you? Silence, because she knew. She knew I was right. All those years, all those moments, all that effort, all that silence. It wasn't love. It was expectation, and I was finally done meeting it. I'm not doing this anymore, I said. My voice didn't shake, didn't break, because this wasn't emotional anymore. This was a decision. My mother's face crumpled slightly. Emma, but I stepped back. Just one step, and somehow, that distance felt bigger than anything else that had happened tonight. I'm not the problem, I said again, and I'm not staying in a place where I have to prove that. My father exhaled slowly, like he had just realized something too late. You're walking away from your family, he said. I shook my head. No. A pause. I'm walking away from being your excuse. That was it. That was the line. The one that ended everything, because after that, there was nothing left to argue, nothing left to defend, nothing left to fix, just truth. Standing there, uncomfortable, unavoidable, final, I picked up my bag. No one stopped me. No one tried, because they knew. This time, I meant it. And as I walked past them, past the room, past the life I had been living for years, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel lost. I didn't even feel sad. I felt something I had never felt before. Free. It's strange how quiet life becomes. After you walk away from noise you thought you needed, for the first few days, I kept expecting my phone to ring. My mother's voice. Sharp, urgent, controlling. Or my father. Calm but heavy with disappointment. But it didn't happen. Not the way it used to. There were a few messages. Short ones. Careful ones. Like they didn't know how to talk to me anymore. Without the script. Without the version of me they had created. I didn't answer right away. Not out of anger, but because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel obligated to. And that feeling, it was unfamiliar, but it was also peaceful. A week later, I went back to my apartment. Small, quiet, exactly the same as I left it. But something about it felt different. It felt like mine again. Not a place I escaped to, but a place I chose. I stood in the middle of the room for a long time. No voices, no expectations, no one telling me who I was supposed to be. Just me. And for the first time, that didn't feel empty. It felt enough. People started reaching out. Not my parents, not at first, but others. My cousin Lily texted me. I'm sorry, I should have seen it sooner. I stared at that message for a while. Because that's the thing about truth. Once people see it, they can't unsee it. And sometimes they regret how long it took, I replied. Me too. That was enough. A few days later, I got an email from my father. Not a long one, not emotional, just 3 lines. I didn't realize how far it had gone. I should have stopped it. I'm sorry. I read it twice, then closed my phone. Not because it didn't matter, but because for once I didn't need it to. I didn't go back. Not for dinner, not for holidays, not to fix anything, because some things aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to be left. And that doesn't make you cold. It doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't make you the problem. It means you finally understood something most people never do. That love without respect isn't love. Months passed. Life settled into something new. Something quieter. Something real. I started noticing things I never had before. How peaceful mornings could be. How light my chest felt when I didn't have to defend myself. How easy it was to breathe when no one was constantly rewriting who I was. One night, I found an old photo. It was from years ago, a family dinner. Everyone smiling, everyone looking perfect. And there I was, in the corner, smiling too. But I could see it now, the difference. The way my smile didn't quite reach my eyes. The way I looked like I was trying to fit into something that was never made for me. I stared at it for a long time. Then I did something simple. I deleted it, because that version of me doesn't exist anymore. The one who stayed quiet, the one who accepted blame, the one who thought love meant sacrificing herself. She's gone, in her place, is someone who walks away when something feels wrong, someone who speaks, even if her voice shakes, someone who doesn't need permission to exist, someone who finally understands she was never the problem. She was just surrounded by people who needed her to be. And the truth is, walking away didn't destroy me. It revealed me. So if you've ever felt like the problem in your family, if you've ever been the one blamed, overlooked, or misunderstood, ask yourself this. What if you're not the problem? What if you're just the one who sees the truth? Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop proving your worth and start protecting it. And when you finally do, you won't feel lost. You won't feel broken. You'll feel exactly what I felt the moment I walked away, free.